session. Let's go ahead and start out with resolution 3533, amended restated bond for discussion. I'll give us a little history on that one.
Okay, so I guess I'll do first the next two resolutions, so because they both tie to one another.
Sure.
So the first one is the amending and restating the resolutions. So with the bonds, the three bonds that we're refinancing, that's what the first resolution is doing, is amending and restating resolutions 3252, 3271, and 3517.
And just to be clear, that's the one that's currently marked 3533.
Correct.
Right,
But it's
and,
really 3531.
right, and so we'll have to change those, Dorsey and Whitney. This one has to be done before the bond award is done, and they said it's just cleaner to have the resolutions in order, and when, I numbered them, I forgot that there was two resolutions coming, so I had numbered that first one with the early one, so, but it's not, that's not a big deal to change those.
Bonnie, can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
The amending and restating, so is it 3528? Is it kind of like a new version of 3528? What is, it's amending and restating, fill in the blank.
3252, 3271, and 3517.
So the old ones.
Right.
Yes, yep, so this one is pretty much taking over those old ones.
From many, many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because those will no longer be, they'll be paid off, and so there'll be one new one instead of the three older ones.
So we would be paying way less interest.
Yes, considerably.
Yes,
So the concept is, so last month we passed 3528, which says we are going to refinance as long as it's lower interest rates, so it saves us money, and it doesn't change the end date, or it doesn't extend the end date.
Right.
Of any of them. If it changes it closer, that's all right, but so like some people will refinance their house, hey, my payment's way down, yes, but you now owe it for another 30 years rather than it was gonna be paid off in 3. We didn't wanna create that problem for the city.
In fact, what we did do is knock 10 years off.
Yeah, I saw that it was shortened, that's why I changed my language.
Right.
So we approved that to go out already, and then the mayor and Lonnie got and opened the bids last Friday. So now we are on time clock of when we get to accept the bids to make them go.
So way less interest and 10 years less time.
And we saved $2.2 million.
Pretty dang
That's
nice.
already
Yeah.
established?
Yeah.
Without
Already
knowing
established.
who's getting the bid?
You
no,
say it's already spent?
we accepted
We-
DA Davidson.
That's what these are, is the bid. And I apologize, so we're gonna hit you guys up with questions, because
Mhm.
to me, a little bit of this, I opened it up and I'm reading through it, but it's kind of like, before I go see Shakespeare, I sit down and read the synopsis first. I like to know what I'm reading before I read it. That's kind of what I felt like here, and I'm sure I'm probably not alone, so we'll just ask lots of questions.
Sure. Okay. Discussion.
So on on the first one, the one that we're talking about right now. What's that number?
3531.
333.
It's labeled 3533, but I will amend to change it in the meeting, but for now, it's the one labeled 3533. It's the long one.
It's
None of
labeled, where is it labeled? Cause on our, it's not on our,
It's right in this line.
3533 is not on our agenda.
Yeah, it is.
That is right.
Oh, I think this is wrong again.
So none of the blanks are filled in.
On there twice.
On
Work
page,
session and in new business.
Appendix B.
Oh, well, this is what I had in my packet.
So appendix B,
page B-2.
B1 and B2, none of the amounts are put in there. Is that something that should be in there before we vote on it?
I believe think these get filled out afterwards.
We might have heart attacks if we see the amounts.
Well, I-
No, so to me, I equated this, again, I'll use refinancing a home. When you go to refinance a house, I said, well, yes, it's costing you something, but we'll roll that into the cost of it.
Right,
And so it's like, I know what it's gonna cost me for an appraisal, I
Dave,
know what it's gonna
Can we
cost.
let Lonnie answer? Because she's the same. Thank you.
So, that 2.2 million that the city is saving is net. Or, yeah, so that's after the fees for Dorsey and Whitney, for AMCO advisors, for, our rating approval company, which was S&P Global. I think those were the three. So those are amounts are included in the overall, and then the savings is net after those amounts.
And I wasn't trying to answer a question, I was actually using that as a reference to say, in my mind, this is the equivalent of the appraisal's gonna cost X, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And does somebody know those numbers now, or?
Yeah, so Brian with AMCO, they, like I said, I am pretty sure, and Tricia with Dorsey and Whitney, she sent me over these ones, which are the updated with the correct, and I didn't send those to you guys because nothing had changed other than the resolution numbers. So I believe the appendix B then is filled out after you guys approve it.
Do you have a total for that? Cause it looks like it adds them all up.
Right.
It says total project cost.
I believe it's in the total amount. That we're refinancing.
Well, I think that the appendix B is the Hagen Water project. 1.623. The one that I'm referencing.
No. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, sorry, I was reading up above where it says 2008.
It just says like, as of this date, the borrower has spent following amounts in connection with the 2019 project and cost.
Oh, okay, so, I'm sorry, so this one has to do with the Hagen one, and the Hagen one, the final payment will be made tonight, or be approved. So we didn't have the exact numbers for the Hagen project yet, so that's, reading through this is the 2019. So once that project is completed and, they have all the final numbers and stuff, then this will be updated.
So we signed that today and we're approving it tonight. How did we approve it if we don't have final numbers?
No, this is for the Hagen, this is just to be included, just like a appendix part of this. So we are not, that Hagen project is not included in the bond that we refinanced, it's just the three older ones. But they wanted to include showing that we have this other bond, water bond, but it is not finalized yet as far as the final numbers.
My other question is, it talks about the resort tax revenue, the $100,000 that we put into water. And, I guess my question is, as a member of the resort tax committee, do we want to commit to that for the next 20 years? If we pass it in a bond or to the taxpayers? I'm just asking so I can bring it back to the committee.
That's $100,000 that's been going into water.
For the past 20
Yeah, and
years.
according to the information, if we don't continue to do that, then we're gonna have to go and probably raise water rates for people, but I was just asking for a recommendation.
I would recommend to leave it in there.
I think so. I would.
Aren't we already raising the water rates?
Well, that was done 5 years ago, Robbie, and it just goes up each year a little bit. But we're probably gonna do it again, 2 to 3%.
Yeah, next August.
And I did know that this document specifically called out that just if the resort tax should not happen to pass, it doesn't mean we no longer owe money. We still owe money even if that source of income goes away.
And this is all, the part that we're discussing right now is all for, past water debt, right? So that would.
Right.
Okay.
That's what that amending and restating is for the past debt that we are refinancing and then paying off and then maybe going into the public sector with it.
Do we know, I know this is basically an outsourced attorney, but has our attorney read through these as in the past? I know last time we passed it kind of pending approval by the city attorney, have these already been approved?
We worked with Dorsey Whitney. for
Yeah, that's
very
their
long time.
specialty, so that's, I'm not treading on their specialty, that's what they do, and that's what they're paid big bucks.
Basically, they're an outsource and that's what we hired them to do.
And that's their specialty, so it's like me trying to be right.
And trust me, they have gone over and over, and Courtney has spent many, many hours working with myself and Brian with Amco and making sure that we've got all of our T's crossed and I's dotted.
And if you read on page 32, we can't be held liable, so.
Yeah, Rob,
To me, with the fact that it's getting paid off 10 years earlier, and we're saving $2 million, it really doesn't make any difference what the figures are. It's a very positive, this is a good thing and it just should get passed.
Very good. I think it's a good thing, but it's okay to discuss it too and find out
Yeah.
what's going on.
any other discussion on, are we calling it 3531 now?
Well, on the agenda, it's 3533 until we make the
We'll be
amendment,
amended.
but switch them.
That'll be included in the motion.
You wanna do a little discussion on 3531 then? That's gonna be 3533.
So this one is the, authorizing the sale of the bond, which it's like 4.695 million, and, this one does kind of break it down. In here where it talks about use of funds and it's the deposit to the reserve account for it. The nice thing about that is the reserves that we currently have sitting there for these other ones actually cover that. So we didn't have to include any extra for the reserve, it's already covered, so that's, that was a good thing. I don't know. And DA Davidson was the, and she did send me. Okay, so here was the official, and I don't know if your guys' has this, but it's the official bid form.
No, we didn't get it.
Okay, so which I can go make a copy of this. So this is from DA Davidson, and it breaks out the, maturity schedule. But I believe like total interest cost is 2.29586%. So it's a huge decrease from the 4.5% that we were paying.
I noticed this one escalates. Did all of the bids that come in, were they all escalating rates or?
I'm not sure. So when we did the bid opening, we did a conference call with Brian. He had all the bids and he kind of went through some of them, but DA Davidson was the best. And we didn't realize DA Davidson had, well, I didn't realize that, but maybe I might have, but, their home office is in Great Falls. So, so that's kind of a good thing to keep it in Montana. So he said there was a couple other ones, and he said who all bid, but I didn't write them down, but there was,
The bottom three were really close.
Yeah.
And I think we told
Yeah,
us
some of
six.
them.
so we had nine, yeah, we had
Nine of
nine,
them.
and
is really unusual.
He said in the cost savings is 30% that we're getting, and he said usually when he does them, it was 3% savings and stuff, but we got a 30%. He said that.
In other words, we were really overpaying.
Yep,
We
for a
were,
long time.
yeah,
Well, and, you know, rates have come down significantly in the last 10 or 15 years, so if we were looking at those that are,
No, it was a good time to do this, so.
It's a good thing all the way around for Red Lodge.
The payoff date is 2039 as opposed to 2043, so it's 5 years.
No, it's 20, it was 20, the furthest one we had was 2049.
oh, so 2043 was just when it was
Was one
gonna
of those.
end per what we had, so we were already condensing it, now we're condensing it.
Oh, I
more.
see, this was the first one we got, okay, got it.
So I can make
Sounds
copies of this if you guys want the bid form
Yeah.
from J.A. Davidson. I can make copies.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay now.
I'm sure so.
Just post it or something.
Yeah, we'll,
Make it available online and.
yeah, once you guys,
Lonnie, what question would I ask about this if only I was smart enough to ask it? That's you've been into it, what questions, or have you answered all the ones that you could think of that we would have? I'm just admitting I don't know everything, so.
well, so like Becky said, Dorsey and Whitney, they know what they're doing, so I kind of put my trust in them, but, there's a lot of phone calls, a lot of material, but it turned out really well. Considering when we first started this and Brian kind of gave an estimate of, 800,000 to 900,000 in savings, and then when he got these, and he called when they were starting to come in, and said, you guys are really gonna be pleased, so.
And that's over the life of that bond, 20.
Right.
20,
Yep.
Is it 20?
Yeah, 2039.
20 years.
22 years.
So,
39, it was,
Which year
was
is
it
it?
19?
yeah.
This is not
It's
2017. You'll be fine.
Lonnie, do you, I remember
Oh, you'll
reading
still-
about
you'll probably still be
120% several times throughout the document, what is the? Yeah, there was like several references that they used to, they kept referring to 120%, like that was an outside limit or a.
oh, that's the, I don't wanna say like net income type thing, but it has somewhere along like that, but I can't remember the wording that they use, it's different for.
Additional bonds equal to at least 120% of the maximum amount of principal and interest payable was just kind of I was trying to translate that into English and going,
Yeah, and I,
120% of the maximum amount.
Principal and interest payable.
Yeah,
I'm good, I'm like Rob.
And like
I'm
I
good
said,
with the
he'll-
2.2
sounds like my
million.
budget.
yeah, Brian apologized for not being here, he does plan on being here on the 22nd, I know this will be kind of done, but he wanted to meet the council and just kind
Yes,
of talk to you and go through the process that we went through.
Any other discussion on this?
just for understanding, the timeline of when this bid has to be accepted is,
I believe tonight.
well, like you said, we are, if we're acting in good faith, we're all free.
We're all safe,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
They're not taking our
More discussion on this? Everybody's good? Let's move on to the pool update. Mark,
Ooh,
Put your
right
Nazi-
into it.
wow.
Tell us a story.
I think you're spot on, except in that, I mean, holy smokes. Just from what I know, you're saving money.
Yep.
Okay, where do I start? I was a little bit disappointed, or actually a lot disappointed, when the pool didn't open. And I am a huge fan of cooperation between government entities.
I don't wanna break in, but some of these people don't know who you are.
Oh, well, I'm Mark Brazich, and we own Covering Broadway, my wife and I, and, I have some history with the new high school, because I worked for the district for, 15 years. So I understand bonding and interest and by the way, you're getting a good deal on your bond. And in 5 years, you might get a better deal because the district's bonding has went down 15% since we passed it in 2006 because they refinanced it. So, you know, yeah, it's debt, but you need it, and you can finesse it. I mean, you just finesse it over time. So, but you're at a low point right now, and you're locked in, so that's all good. So, back to the pool.
Thanks for the lesson.
I think the Red Lodge community needs a pool, period. And you can go alone. The school was designed to have a pool, but we didn't have enough money at that point in time. Yes.
When you say it's designed, that means the foundation is in for the pool.
Oh, no. No.
So what point was it designed?
Just where, in the initial plans, there was a pool attached to the high school.
So the layout
So
includes room for a pool.
Yeah, not a
Space on
Olympic
the
size pool. I mean, yes and no. We just got some renderings from the architect that designed the high school. And an Olympic sized pool, that might not be what we wanna do. I mean, that's a conversation that needs to occur. Because it impedes on the walking track, and the walking track would have to go around it a little bit. But the infrastructure, from what I understand, can support a pool. Okay, so, and that was 2009 when it was put in. So, anyway, I think that the city and the school need to form a cooperative relationship. So, and the school will probably, and I haven't talked to the board, so this is all just brand new. You guys are tonight, and I am at the board tomorrow night. There's no reason that you need to go it alone and the school needs to go it alone.
Is there a pre-existing desire for the pool before this came up from the school district?
Probably not. I would say, you know, so long as I'm an old father, my oldest is 30 and my youngest is 27, and they lived at the pool. And when the pool shut down, that's when I said, something has to be done because kids in this town need a pool. And seniors in this town need a pool. Now, when I go to work, I'd always see laps being swum, or swam, I don't know which one, between
Glory.
7 and 9. And an outdoor pool in Red Lodge, Montana is unfeasible, period. So, anyway, no, there wasn't any preconceived ideas that the school would,
Eventually build a pool.
but in this situation where the city and the school could cooperate, and I am just kind of a liaison. I have no authority with the school, and I have no authority with, obviously, you guys. I am just saying, the city of Red Lodge needs a pool.
So I have to say that when Mark and I talked several months ago, And Mark just said, "Well, I'm just gonna take the lead on it and go with it," which I said, "Have at it," and this is where we're at today.
Right,
Yeah, Bobby.
You
Rob?
said it was in the plans already when the,
You know,
School
we,
was
we
going up.
talked about it and we have a few renderings, of where it could, it's not where I thought it might be, cause I would like to build it right next to the high school, but the roof issues are preventing us to save that fourth wall. I wanted to put it right next to the high school, but it needs to be off a ways so that we can get rid of the.
cause what we were paying in the engineering, just to have it drawn up was how much, $180,000 or
No,
something?
they're working on the 47,000 mark now, which I stopped at yesterday, just waiting to see what was gonna happen here. And there was another 100 some in the resort tax. Yes, Diane?
So, we had a informal gathering, in John Fitzgerald, that's the superintendent of the high school, or the schools. It was Mark and I, Rue, Neil, and John and Marcy Dykes. And it was just to kind of see where everybody was kind of sitting with this whole idea and what to do. And Mark said he'd come and talk to the council, which I was thankful for. And he's going to talk to the school board tomorrow. But it would be nice to see the community get a pool that will be used year round. And I think that's something that the city can afford to do in our discussions.
So, here's where we're at. This is, I mean, the bridge hasn't even been built
Right.
for the water to go under it. This is really new, and the city has to have skin in the game. And the school, I think, has the capacity, if the voters say, to build the pool. Yes,
So my understanding, and it's, I'm sure at least third or fourth hand, is one of the things that they were looking at is that the existing bond that built that high school is nearing an end. So what we could do is have a new bond to get additional money, in fact, not raising people's taxes, just extending the taxes. Is that a
Exactly.
correct statement?
and I got some things that came at about 4 o'clock today. That's why I was sifting through papers. The current high school bond will be retired in 7 payments,
Wow.
And the payments are how far apart?
1 year,
So in 7 years.
in 7 years. So in my grandiose world, okay, what's it gonna take to not raise people's taxes and build this pool? That's the bottom line. People are okay with where their taxes are. The elementary bond will drop off, and that'll be 20 mils or 20 in 7 years. This
So,
will be a high school project.
so how do we build a pool sooner than 7 years without raising people's taxes?
We bond it, and then they add it to the end of the bond that's gonna happen. The ending of the bond, and I gotta research that a little bit more. But you could actually do it and extend the bond 10 years or 12 years or whatever.
So, correct me if I'm not understanding this. In essence, what we do is we pass a bond down, we ask the voters for
You
a new
don't
loan
pass a
that the
bond.
payments don't start for 7 years. And then at that point, they'll pay off that project. But I'll gladly give you $2 tomorrow for a hamburger today. Or just substitute. pool
You
in this
don't
case.
pass a bond.
Right.
The district assumes the liability. But there's a whole lot of hooks involved with the district assuming a $5-6 million liability. Because it is a city pool, and I don't wanna change anything about it being a city pool, other than I want elementary kids to be able to get swim lessons that aren't going to the pool, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So you're not assuming any responsibility as a city for the bond.
But that bond would in essence be build something now, but the money is gonna start several years down. That's just,
So let's say, okay, so the elementary and high school bond is gonna be paid off on 7/1/17, I think is what it says, okay? Done. So if that happens, 27, sorry. If that happens, there's 20 mills that go away from the elementary, and the high school will remain at 20.5 mils. Okay, and that might be for 10 years, it might be for 12 years, beyond that 2027 ending. But taxes will not go up. Taxes will essentially go down for elementary taxpayers, not Luther
Right.
and Jackson, because that's where the high school is. So their taxes will go down, but they wouldn't go down as significantly.
what do you anticipate, and I know this is an unfair question, cause you ain't them. What would you anticipate the ask from the city would look like?
Well, good question. Short term, I just got this at 4 o'clock from the architect, as he wants $18,000 for the preliminary design. The city needs to share in that. I don't know what the board's gonna decide, what that share is gonna be, might be 50%, because there's an alternative motive also. Because the high school wants to expand their college technical career center, and that's gonna be part of the bond. That's why it has to be a high school scenario.
Well, and I can see some advantages for the city as a whole of having a pool that's worthy to have competitive meets at. Now we've got the state coming here for meets, so that has some advantages too.
You know, I am a huge fan of that and have been, and that's why we built that gym. But I wouldn't hang your hat on that.
Yes.
I would love it, and I think Red Lodge is a formidable place to host those meets, especially if you have a new pool. And it could happen, but I wanted district and divisional tournaments here. And then the divisional tournaments have went to Metra, much to my dismay, but it is what it is.
And then the second question I had, aside from the dollars, which thank you for that answer, was in the pool conversations we've had in the past, and I've attended several of those over the last 3 or 4 years. Jim, you can step in here too. One of the things they described is whenever you're talking about the physics of a pool, you build it around the largest fluid body, which in an indoor pool ain't the water, it's actually the air. And so they talked about one of the things you have to decide is if you have a pool that's good in the summer, or do you have a pool that's good in the winter? And they gave, Jim, you can correct me if I misspeak there, but they gave us a couple of examples where they built indoor pools that had proven to be very problematic in Montana's climate.
Way above my head.
What they said was,
What meeting was that?
the other deal you gotta take into consideration, if you build this pool, you operate an outdoor pool in Montana, you're gonna lose money for 3 months. You build an indoor pool operate, you're gonna lose money for 12 months. There's nobody built a pool. Pools are not cash cows, they're a money pit.
There's not one thing that we do that's a cash cow in city government.
And the deal is the cost of that operation with that 12 months, who's gonna foot, is that the high school or this, if it's a city pool, then that's the city's gonna be trying to operate a pool.
You know, Jim, it's a great point, and I wouldn't ever expect it to be a cash cow. I think, you know, and those numbers are still to come. They need engineering, and we gotta see if we can even build it on that slag pile.
Yeah.
I mean, how much over excavation has to come, how much, how many pylons need to be drilled like we did the high school? That high school is on solid footing, and the pool will have to be on equally solid footing. But in the end, I think we need X amount of dollars, whether it's 50,000 to operate it, just in a capital sense, just heat and then you staff it, and then all of a sudden, we have to, come to an agreement, the board and the council, on, okay, let's say it's open from 7 AM till 7 PM. And the school assumes the 8:30 to 3 o'clock or 3:30. And the city assumes the rest of it and shared, those are way out there right now. I mean, but the bottom line, in my world, simple world, by the way, is the city of Red Lodge needs a pool. If Forsyth can build a pool, doggone it, we can build it.
You know they can't operate this?
Yeah, well, they didn't plan for the future.
Yeah, they got that money, built this big pool, and they can't afford to operate it.
Yeah,
And
but
they
that was the
probably
city
had
going it
oil
alone. That was the city of Forsyth pool, going it alone. Since it comes out of their general fund.
No, it came out of, coal tax money.
Well, but the maintenance and the staff and everything it comes out of the general fund.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was coal tax money that built it.
Built it.
Sure.
But there was short-sightedness in operations.
Right.
And
And
Red
that's
Lodge, the city of Red Lodge and the school district can't be short-sighted. It has to be a 20-year plan.
And that's part of why I was asking about the physics and the maintenance question, because I remember that conversation, and Forsyth Pool, I believe, was one of them that they mentioned, because in this case, in lieu of coal money, what we're doing is bond money, we're talking about to build a pool, but we've still got to get some sort of a sense of what would it cost to operate that indoor facility
We're
year-round.
gonna go
and
into it
we-
eyes
yeah.
wide open.
And I think I'm hearing that we might be able to split those operational costs with the district as well, that the district is kind of building that into their plan, or will build that into their plan as they discuss it.
Absolutely. I mean, it has to be. I mean, we can facilitate lifeguards that grow up.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's your biggest problem that you have there. I envision, and I mean, this is, like I said, the bridge isn't even built. But I think that you have to have a manager or administrator of the pool that is paid uniquely between the district and the city, that is a lifeguard for the city, and they run the pool, and then there's some sort of committee. I mean, the council, I don't mean to be crass, but the council cannot be part of day-to-day operations. It has to
They're
be
not.
somebody
They can't be.
that has to know their stuff. You pay them a salary, they're there when the cities, I mean, all of that is, I mean, we gotta scoop a shovel before we ever start. I mean, those things have to be discussed, sorry, Mike.
I know that we're whiteboarding, you said the bridge isn't even built yet, but you did use a $5 to $6 million figure earlier.
Yeah.
Is there a basis for that?
The only basis is, and I disagree with it, but, price of constructions went up, and
That seems really low to me, if we're talking about an
No,
indoor
it-
Olympic-sized pool.
No, not Olympics.
well.
Any indoor,
The architect said on a I wanna say a $28,000 complex, that includes a pool and locker rooms and a kid's pool and blah, blah, blah.
28,000 square foot.
Yeah.
Okay.
At $250 a square foot. And I don't necessarily know that we need a Olympic-sized pool, that's gonna be part of the conversation that comes around. And
We did a
then
pool
you
study that they gave us 3 options for the city when we were looking at kind of an A, B, and C. And I remember that number being associated with one of them, right? And I think that was when they
Yeah.
were
Or
adopting
something
Junction.
for
yeah,
the inside.
and I mean, the voters are gonna determine it. The bottom line is, we can sit around here all day, and if the voters say, no, I don't wanna go another 13 years on the bond, we don't, but you also need to know that there's a CTE complex for career technical education. That's another million and a half that doesn't even involve you guys, but it does in the fact that the bond is gonna be attached to it. And I think it's, personally, I think there's a lot of people in Red Lodge that want their kids to swim in the summer. And I'm thinking windows, opening doors, playgrounds outside, blah, blah, blah. And then the CTE is a slam dunk. I mean, there's a lot of kids that could really use a CTE complex.
In the pool study that was done in 2018, the option C1 was a new aquatics facility that was indoor. That was 2.3 for the base pool.
But Diane,
Outdoor.
yeah, Diane, that was at that facility or that was over at the,
This was a new aquatics facility,
I think that was supposed
not
to
on the existing site.
be, okay, so that was the one, right, so that, but that was, the aquatics facility was not supposed to be indoor, that was outdoor.
Oh, okay.
So that's what, that's one of the.
Oh,
things.
indoor facility, 6.9.
There you go, yeah.
Okay, so here's the kicker. We've talked to Rue, cause you're on the parks board, right?
Yep.
What's the city gotta give? The pool property.
What would that do? I mean, like just to turn it into a park or to?
Listen to it.
Future preschool. Because the legislature, I guarantee you, in 4 years, the legislature will fund preschool education, and that'll be at least 2 or 3 classrooms,
Public preschool.
public preschool. Mhm.
And so the school district wants that property.
Well, I don't know, I'm not speaking,
Yeah, but
this
that's-
is just my world.
So where are
We're
you
all just
talking
telling
about
stories,
building
but that would be a good
this
story.
new plant up there? Where exactly would it sit?
Theoretically, it would sit on the east side of the high school, where the greenhouse and chicken coops and what are, there's some parking issues, there's some walking issues. We're looking at possibly down in the parking lot, cause that would mitigate the walking and parking issues, but I don't know that there's enough room, but I mean, anything's open. I mean, this is just the initial conversation. Because it needs to happen.
You know, Mark, I think this is the best that we've heard on the pool situation, and I appreciate the fact you're coming to us. This is a concept that you have brought to us that we need to look at very seriously. And we need to look at all the options that we would have, both for the pool, for the old location pool, and all those. And it's going to take a while to develop this as a firm plan. It's going to take conversations between the city, the school, and you, because this was your idea to begin with, so you can't get out of it now.
No, I'm not,
You're in it.
I'm
now.
buried.
But I think it's something that we really need to take a look at. Do you think the school is willing to take a look at this and discuss it in a serious way?
I'm gonna give you a 85% yes
Okay.
until tomorrow night. Cause
That's-
I'm going to the
that's
school
okay.
board meeting.
Yeah,
It sounds like you'd already had conversations with John, so he's not,
Oh, yeah.
this isn't
Yeah.
blindsiding.
I've had
him.
conversations with John and Bill and Glory
Yeah.
and Diane and, I mean,
But also other school board members.
and other
Against
school
that.
board, yeah, Marcy's
Yeah.
on board. I mean, it's just so apparent that we can't do this separately. I mean, you guys are dealing with your stuff and the school deals with their stuff and, I mean,
we have to join forces.
you guys,
That makes good,
you
very.
We have
guys
to
are gonna
join
ha-
forces. and
you
do
guys
this.
are gonna have to pony up some money, but not for the build,
Well,
just for future operations
Sure,
and,
sure.
and you're
But we
gonna
were-
be
but
locked
we were doing
in,
that anyhow,
right?
yeah.
Absolutely.
But
But-
we need to pursue this.
Yeah,
Despite you burying the lead, before getting to the part about we want that existing land for a preschool, in a way, my first off the cuff reaction to that is, that's a good thing. We don't have to raise taxes. That's something we already have. That's, to me, that's not necessarily, and I can see where there could be hesitations, because there's been concerns and issues with the city giving up land in the past, but it doesn't.
That's actually a dedicated park.
That is
so
it, yeah.
it'd be that-
Yeah, it's a
So
dedicated
it's
park,
something-
so it's gonna take
It's gonna
It'll
take
take
We
some
have to
a few
undedicate it.
maneuvers and,
No,
yes, you gotta do.
you just
it.
need to, so with a dedicated park, you need to trade, if that park, if that specific place closes, you need to ask for a equal or, comparable at least footprint elsewhere. So, if that footprint ends up on what is currently the school grounds, maybe that could be considered a trade, or maybe because they're both sort of city of sorts,
yeah.
that
and
might
the
be a little
city
funky,
owns
that
the
might be either
property.
easier or harder, I don't know. As
It's
far
a
as
thing that
language.
has to be addressed.
But it really does need to, and so it is a dedicated park, so it does need to be addressed. However, the very simplest way of saying the city park, once it's been dedicated, is you need to have comparable, you can't just land swap without it being comparable.
Mhm.
And so perhaps that's comparable, that would need to be looked
be
into.
getting better.
So with it being a dedicated park and it being closed and never opening again as a pool, if we did anything else with that if this wasn't on the table and the city said we gotta destroy the pool, we gotta take it down, it's a hazard, would we have to go through the process of undedicating it as a park?
Or
If
call it-
perhaps we said we're going to use it as, we're gonna build a
Bruce
city
said you
hall
can
on it,
swap.
or.
We'd have to
So
change
I-
the designation.
But we would have to change
We
that,
have
so
to
that's like
change
the
the
same
designation.
process
Right.
then?
Or,
But
or
that's
it
small
can still
potatoes
say a
to
park,
It'd
but it
just
may
be
be a
called
different
a
kind of
park.
park.
It's been a long time since I took it.
But that's
Used to be
okay,
a
that's
school
fine.
Mary, I mean, that is, futuristic, what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
It might be 2 years, it might be 4 years, it might be 12 years.
Yeah, but we gotta work
But-
on it,
Is it a park between the time?
yeah.
So
But
it's
there's
really
gotta be a
in
commitment
grass
from
area.
the city and the Parks Board that is school property.
So
That's just-
can we
That's
go
just
on,
another piece of the puzzle.
It absolutely
I
is.
think that's
And
a
we
lot
have-
further down the road, and I
Yeah.
think, let's let Mark go ahead and take the lead and go to the
Yeah,
school board. and-
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll go to the
These are
board.
things that,
I mean,
James
it-
and I have talked about the park thing, and we'll keep working on that.
We either hang together or we hang separately.
or we hang, period.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, I'll be
Yeah.
honest, I don't know how we build a pool as a city without bringing in taxpayers from outside the city.
And I
This is
asked
the one thing
Diane
you-
at
absolutely,
the informal meeting with Rue there and blah, blah, blah. What's the city spend on the pool? Is it 40,000? Is it 50,000? On a general year,
It was
About
35, 40, 40
years to run it for the 3 months.
so you're gonna have to at least spend 40,000, and I would guess it's gonna go up a little bit for electricity and gas and water, and maybe we won't pay water fees. I mean, those things all need to be determined.
the operating cost that was in the pool study for the pool that we were looking at was $77,000 for us.
But that was for a, what, three months, that was for a outdoor pool.
That was the,
The cost is gonna go up more with an indoor.
Of
because
course.
you're renting.
oh yeah, correct, it is,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
but it's also gonna be
But
part of the school's
But-
responsibility.
So when you say
Yeah,
the
yeah,
ask is we want you to spend as much on operating costs maintaining this new facility as what you spent on your own, to me, oh, if only it were that simple, that's a no-brainer. But
It's
like
that
you said, I have a
simple,
sinking suspicion it might go up. If
Oh,
it's
it's
just,
gonna go
It's
up.
gonna go up.
I mean, it's gonna go up 4% a year,
Mhm.
guaranteed.
So let's.
And that'll
let's let
be in
Mark
the
do his
contract.
thing
Yeah,
And just come back and report.
And it's an
back to us.
interlocal agreement, so
Right.
we form an interlocal agreement between the district and the city. And the district throws some money in, and the city throws some money in, and that money is spent on operations. And you guys have to be, and the board has to be out of that.
oh yeah. we don't
There
want
has
to
to be
Just write a
maybe a
check.
committee of two, a pool committee, whatever. You don't want, you don't want to bring something with the seven of you saying, do we need to hire another? No, it's
We
not
don't
your
want to be
deal.
part
So
of
we,
that.
so we have one more agenda item. Let's
Oh.
let Mark go ahead and
So-
do his thing.
Okay,
Sherry
so
just showed up, so.
right now, the number is $18,000 for the initial study. And the district will absorb some of that, I don't know how much, I'll find out tomorrow night. And John will send you a letter or whatever, but I think you gotta do it. I mean, if you want a pool, you're not gonna get a pool any way else.
Mark, are you willing to stay with this and be kind of a point person for both sides?
I am
Yes.
willing to do that, and by the way, I am not on Facebook, I don't tweet, I don't this, cause I don't wanna hear anybody talking about me, I'm gonna do my thing. Yes, I am,
Okay,
Thank you.
for the kids of Red Lodge
Thanks, Mark,
and the seniors.
I
okay,
appreciate
thanks.
it.
Okay,
Thank you, Mark.
sorry I went on too long, I
You're
usually
good.
do.
No,
you're good.
good information, thank you.
Let's move on to our last item. We have it down as, use of city-owned land, but actually it's just an informational, discussion on the Christmas stroll. And Sherry, do you wanna say anything on that? We've all had a chance to look at it.
The typical amazing event we usually put on. I've gotten the encroachment permits from the Montana Department of Transportation, so we're all set for the Main Street to be closed from 5 to 9. Street closure will be handled by Church of the Rockies, as usual. Hopefully the fire department will pitch in, and I'm hoping Mr. Bushnell will help us once again with the bigger end pieces. We're keeping one side of the street open as usual with all the fire pits. So on one side so that the emergency people can have access if needed. And insurance, everything's in place. We're ready to have a great event again.
Discussion from the table.
Mayor, procedurally, I had the same question, you already answered that this is listed for action, but it doesn't require action, so procedurally, what do we need to do to downgrade this
It's,
from action?
it's just a, yeah,
It's just an information.
just an informational. Diane?
A couple of concerns that the chief had brought up last year after the stroll when I had a discussion with him. One of my concerns was there was a nonprofit organization serving alcohol on 212, and that can't happen.
Who was it? I wasn't aware of that.
I'll discuss it with you afterwards, but people need to make sure that the nonprofits are aware that
Yes.
cannot serve alcohol on the street.
Absolutely.
And the second concern, and the chief had this, I wish he was here, the open container ordinance is still in effect. And last year, it was really unbelievable to me. I've been part of the stroll for years, and I know that it started out as a backdoor thing, back closet thing, but it's come out to the front and it's come out onto the street. And I think you need to tell your businesses that they can't let people walk around town. I don't know if the police will enforce it, but I certainly wouldn't, I want them to, because it's out of control. So those were my two concerns. I know the chief, actually talked to him last year afterwards. It was his first.
The chief will be involved again this year, and we tout it as a family friendly, we don't encourage alcohol.
And
And
I
we're done
think
at 9 o'clock.
maybe there's part of it that's just a little bit of additional information that just says FYI, these are still in effect. Thank you for your cooperation and understanding.
Great, you bet.
Everybody good?
On an upbeat note, True Value is going to sponsor the Blade Parade this year. Since the Lions Club backed out of it, I sponsored it myself last year, but this year True Value is going to sponsor it, which I think is a wonderful thing for them to do. So when you shop at True Value, thank them for sponsoring the Blade Parade.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you.
You were a lot quicker than me.
She's done it wrong.
Organization.
And Mark, not one of us was surprised by that.
I think if you just print up or email the
Let's take a
businesses.
4-minute break.